Let's see, can you hear me now? If I do, I think that should be correct. Does it work here now? Maybe a little bit too loud, actually. Turn it down. Oh yeah, of course, I turned that off. Like I said, I'm not really used to this setup since it's not my normal one. But I was just saying that today we have a special meditation bell. We have my thermos, since the bell is at home, and it has some special stickers that my daughter has put on it, so that I know that it's my bell. I mean, sorry, my bell, my thermos. Nice, it's working. Yeah, I had to create a new profile for the video and everything, and then I did a mistake when I connected it back. So everyone had a good week. Excited, I almost said about the meditation. Excited about meditating. Sometimes it can be exciting. I had a really nice sitting earlier today. I was sitting just outside, and it just, good sittings aren't always when it's calm. Good sittings is when you kind of go through things, but it's very nice when it gets calm sometimes. And today was one of those really, really, really calm sittings. I just had an amazing afternoon after that. So it's nice when you get into that flow kind of, and things work. So I'm going to turn this off also here. There. Also been working on some fun videos for the upcoming weeks. I've had to kind of go down and just release a video every second week, because I simply don't have time to finish everything every week. So instead it's one video every second week, but the good thing is then I have more time to actually do it and not feel like I'm stressing with it. And we still have the meditations, which I really enjoy, and that's twice per week, and there's always fun questions that people can listen to it, and that are good for me also, because it's nice to have to learn to explain it better, kind of, which is what happens when people ask questions like that. Jack, I'm just waiting for you to ask an awesome question. Do you have any awesome questions today? Niranjan Kalivaran. Ah, hi. Good evening from... Nice, I haven't seen you before. I hope I can pronounce that. Niranjan Kabilarajan. Niranjan Kabilarajan. First time I see you. Welcome. Good to have you here. That name, is that Indian or is it Pakistani maybe? I see Jack Crasher saying, this temple where you were ordained as a monk, what kind of rite school? It was a Theravada, Mahayana, Vajrayana. What significant dissent have you encountered in working with the Dhamma? It was a Theravada tradition. It was not a specific temple, since it was my teacher who traveled around. He eventually established a center in Sri Lanka that had a famous relic. But I spent very little time there. I actually spent really little time with my actual teacher, except for in the beginning, since he was busy doing monk stuff, and he was not really that into meditation. In Sri Lanka, meditation is more of a religion. So they don't... Well, of course there are monks who meditate a lot, but... Hey, nice to have you here, Niranjan, from India. I was ordained in Sri Lanka, so I was right next door. What was I saying? Yeah, so I spent very little time with him, but what I got to do was, which was good, was that I got to travel around first in Sri Lanka and meet teachers who were really good in meditation. And the good thing was that my teacher, he did practice meditation, but not to the degree that I did, or the teachers I wanted to find. So he was okay with me traveling around to those teachers and then learning more there. So I spent quite a lot of time with different teachers in Sri Lanka, and then I went abroad, and I found Malaysia was a really good place, because they're also Theravadan, but they're from the is it Cambodia? No, from Burma. Sorry, Burma is from the Burmese traditions, which practice the kind of tradition that I did, which is noting, and it's a really strict, intensive practice form where they really have meditating all day long, and they have a system behind it that works really well. So I like the Theravada. I like the Mahayana, which was in Plum Village. They were Mahayana. I spent the most time there. I think I spent at least a year, maybe a year and a half there in total. A year probably. I really like that also, but completely different way of practicing. And I wouldn't have wanted. They actually asked me if I wanted to stay there long term, but it's like I said sometime. The best way of meditating or practicing core to me would be to have 1 month where you practice really intensely, like in the Burmese traditions, and you practice 15 hours per day, all day long, and then you go to a place like Plum Village where you have people all around you, and you have to bring that awareness into meeting other people and still be able to be aware and see what happens around you, and bring up difficult things and attraction and conflict and tiredness and needing to do skills and needing to perform, and actually they had music and things like that. And then after that you go back into daily life and you have a wife, a family, and the wife cheats on you and your kids are just really difficult to handle and you hate your job. Like, then you would have to go the full circle practicing all things. So I really, like I said last time when we spoke, Jack, that I don't believe one method is the best. I think it's that there's a lot of different, or one tradition is the best. There's a lot of different things you can learn in different stages. Unfortunately, most traditions tend to focus in one way of doing it because that's what they believe is the right one. And then of course I developed my own practice, which I call the distortion method, which according to me is the best way you can practice. I mean, I haven't encountered anything that works that good for me. For some people it probably doesn't fit them, but a lot of people, when they start practicing that way, it really works, and it's not tied to a specific meditation technique. It talks absolutely nothing about what happens before or after death. It just focuses on what you're experiencing and this feeling of distortion, wanting to go somewhere else so that you can feel comfortable being here and now. So yeah, that's a bit short about the difference between the different traditions. But there is a lot of difference in the different traditions. It's almost like it's different religions. It's crazy when you look at it. Cool. Let's see, Naranjan. Well, we're going to have, basically what we're going to do, I see now it's 10 past 8, so we're going to sit for 20 minutes like we normally do. Today is Monday, so it's a guided meditation. After that we have today it'll be a shorter question and answer, but there will be a shorter question and answer, just won't be as long as normally. Jack Crash, it all goes back to Pali Canon, didn't it? Because the Tibetan school has many different ancient masters to learn from. I've said this before when we talk about Pali Canon and stuff like that. The Pali Canon was written, 400 years after the Buddha died? And you have to remember that then we're talking about people who told people who told people who told people who told people who then listened to people who told people. Is like, in my opinion, absolutely nothing we know about the Buddha is any absolute truth. It's just the closest we have, and you have to look at the bigger picture, kind of like what kind of theme can you see. But specifically the Buddha said this, I'm like, I never believe any of that. I mean, I just don't see how that could be true. I've met monks, and the idea that they would have perfect memory, remember everything for like 400 years and then 2,500 years after, nah, I'm sorry, but then you may as well believe any other religious book. But you can look at the big things in all forms of Buddhism and see these things are really good and useful to have, and then you can use those. Okay, so we're going to sit 20 minutes sitting. We'll start with the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method, where we focus on 5 things we can see, 4 things we can feel, 3 things that we can hear, and then 2 things we can smell, 1 thing that we can taste. And they gradually will take you to a sense that requires a little bit more effort to be aware of. And we're going to do it by saying it out aloud, because we really want to stop and be aware. It's not about, okay, I see this, 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 and this. It's not about just ticking them off. You really want to stop and be aware of your senses, because when you are, then you come to your senses, and that's basically what we want to do, where we want to become more aware. And after that, like I said, we'll do a guided sitting, and then we'll do the question and answers. So, we start with 5 things we can see. I can see a Dutch cow statue. I can see a TV. I see the slip to my computer, and I see a carpet. And you can just say it out aloud with me. If you're in a place where you cannot say it out loud, then just say it to yourself, but be sure to stop and really be aware. And then we'll do 4 things that we can touch. I can touch an owl pillow, and I can touch some kind of box, paper. I can touch my telephone. Then I can touch the cord to my microphone. Then after that we'll have 3 things that we can hear. I can hear people moving around downstairs. I can hear water running. And I hear birds singing outside. Then we take 2 things that we can smell. I can smell moisture, like water on leaves, water on nature. And then I smell some kind of spice, some spicy scent. And then after that we take 1 thing that we can taste. I taste that I have bad breath. Yeah. Today won't be my normal meditation bell, so it will be a little bit jarring, but hopefully that'll be okay. So just start by bringing your awareness to your breath. And we're trying to be aware of the breath as a whole, not specifically a small point, but more awareness of breath over the upper torso or everywhere that you can feel in your body when the breath comes in and goes out. And if you can't feel the actual sensations, that's okay. What we're looking for is awareness that breath is happening. And sometimes you can feel that your chest is expanding, your chest is contracting, but later on maybe you'll just be aware that breath is happening and you're breathing in and breathing out. And just come to your senses and be aware of your breath happening. If you have a lot of thoughts running around in your mind, if there's things you feel you need to remember that you need to do after, or things that happened before that is troubling you, and just ask yourself, is it okay if you just leave that for the next 20 minutes? Just try to let life go on without you for 20 minutes. For the time being of this exercise, just wait with finding solutions, analyzing, blaming, figuring out. Just let the world be as it is and just come back to your breath. To make it a little bit easier to follow your breath, what we'll do is that we'll be counting our breaths first together, and then you'll keep doing it by yourself. And we'll count it from 1 to 8 and then down from 8 to 1. So we'll start it together and we'll start breathing in and out. 1. In and out. 2. In and out. 3. In and out. 4. out. 5. In and out. 6. In and out. 7. In and out. 8. In and out. 7. In and out. 6. In and out. 5. In and out. 4. In and out. 3. In and out. 2. In and out. 1. And just keep on observing your breath and counting as you go from 1 to 8 and then down from 8 to 1. Breathing in and out. 1. In and out. 'This particular kind of meditation, we're not trying to influence the breath or manipulate the breath. This is not breath work. This is simply awareness of breath. So what we're trying to do is just step aside and let breath happen by itself. We're not trying to control your breath. So when I do the breathing in and breathing out, that's not actually how you're supposed to breathe in this particular meditation. I just do that to make it clear when I'm breathing in and breathing out. Instead, just see if you can step to the side and let breath happen by itself, and see how it changes. That when you begin, you'll probably be faster, deeper, and as you progress, it'll become more shallow and slower. And sometimes, if you sat for a long time, you might even stop breathing, which can cause a sense of panic as you realize that you've stopped breathing and you go, start breathing again. So just be aware as you're breathing in and breathing out. 1. Breathing in and breathing out. If you find yourself counting 10, 11, 12, don't be discouraged. The best way to fail at this kind of meditation is to get angry with yourself, to become upset, to feel like you're a failure, to compare yourself to others who you believe are better than you, or to think that you're not worthy, or that you should be experiencing something other than what you are. How many times you go from 1 to 8 and down from 8 to 1 is completely irrelevant. That's not what we're trying to do here. There's actually only one single thing you really need to do to make this meditation method work. And it's so simple that it's easy to think that it's not enough. But the only thing you need to do to gain awareness, to raise your concentration, and to gain what's called stickiness of the mind, meaning the mind's ability to rest with your breath without effort, is that you need to come back over and over and over again. The difference between a skilled meditation yogi, meditator, is that they don't get discouraged when their mind is running everywhere. They just keep coming back over and over and over again. Because one time when you sit, your mind is going to be calm, because you've had a calm day, and the next time, because you've had a not so calm day, your mind will become agitated. So the outcome is not directly related to what you're experiencing right now. Instead, you just need to come back over and over and over again. Whenever you drift away, count too far, stop counting, start dreaming, start fantasizing, start thinking that this is just wasted time, I should be somewhere else. That's okay. Just come back to your breath and start breathing in and breathing out. 1. Breathing in and breathing out. Sometimes when we meditate, we can feel that there's a pulling to one side or another. It can be the head turning one side, it can be your whole upper torso wanting to twist. Sometimes there will be shaking, sometimes the whole body will be vibrating, and sometimes you will be completely and utterly still to the degree that you can't even feel your body. Other times it feels like your body is vibrating even though you're sitting still. And you might feel that your body feels much larger than you actually are, or sometimes much smaller. Sometimes it'll feel like you have an extra arm or a leg, or no arm and no leg. You might stop feeling certain parts of your body, or rather stop being aware of them. All this is just normal stuff that happens when we meditate. If you want to, you can get into it and try to analyze it and try to understand what it means. Come up with some theory that it's a past limb from a past life, or a future limb from a future life, or maybe someone else's limb that you're feeling, or some other place that you're feeling. But that's just wasted time and effort. Because if you think about it, while you're spending all the time thinking, analyzing, dreaming, coming up with theories, are you actually aware of your breath? Are you actually doing what you were supposed to do, which was come back over and over and over again? No matter what comes up, just keep on coming back to your breath as you're breathing in and breathing out. 1. Breathing in and breathing out. For the last part of the meditation, if you want to, you can stop counting the breath and just be aware. Be aware of your breath. Be aware of anything that happens inside of your field, inside your body. And just observe. Just observe calmly and see what is happening inside of you. if you want to, you can simply keep on meditating, or you can ask questions if you want to as well. Go ahead, Jack. By the way, how was it with the thermos bell? I personally kind of like it. It makes me feel of somehow the sound reminds me of a gong somewhere up on a mountain. I think there was a Malaysian meditation center I went to that was up on a mountain. You couldn't actually walk. Well, you could walk, but you couldn't drive there. So we had to go on the back of motorcycles up like a really big mountain. Well, I mean really big. It was outside of Penang somewhere. And they had a gong. I think it sounded something like this. So for me, this is actually a bit... I kind of like the sound. But maybe it's too harsh. If you don't like it, tell me. And, well, this is the last time I'll have to use it. But anyway. I thought it was kind of funny and an interesting experience. I'm also on battery power on my laptop today, so like I said, the question and answer, I'm just happy I managed to hold out through the whole meditation. Let's see, Niranjan is asking, my legs becoming numb in cross-legged position after about 10 minutes of sitting. Any solution for this? Yes. When you say cross-legged, are you meaning just sitting with your legs like this? Or do you sit with them in some kind of lotus position, or how do you sit? Also, when you say they become numb, is it both legs or just one leg? Where are they numb? The whole leg, certain parts? Just describe it a little bit more so I see what we can work with. And how do you actually sit with your legs? Do you sit completely flat? Do you sit on some kind of cushion? Do you sit on a meditation stool? Or how are you sitting? I can just say how I sit, which I think is what works best for most people that I teach, at least, is that when you sit, if you imagine, see, how should I do this? if my torso is up here, so this is my torso going up here, and this is my bum, what I want to do is I want to have some kind of fabric that I can roll up, so I can put it behind my bum. And what happens then is you tilt you open your pelvic bone like this. Basically, I'll see if I can show it. Oh, I'm gonna twerk. If I sit like this, you can see my bum here. If I sit and I don't have anything behind it, it will go like this, my back. But if I put something here, meaning underneath my bum, you can roll a piece of a towel, a blanket, or something that's firm, not soft, and it will twist your pelvic bones, and all of a sudden you'll get a very straight posture like that. You'll sit straight, and I'm sitting on my legs. I mean, while you're sitting cross-legged. But what can happen when you do that is that you can actually get a piece of the fabric that you're having underneath your bum that squeezes a nerve or a blood vessel, or I'm not exactly sure what it is it squeezes, but then I can get really numbness, and like almost my whole leg disappears because it squeezes on a part of the bum, and that makes it fall asleep, kind of. Let's see, not lotus, normal, perfect. I don't recommend people sitting in lotus position. I think it's completely overrated, and there's many other ways that are much better to sit than that. Below knee is getting numb. Yeah, I've seen your previous videos on keeping support back. Oh, good. Yeah, that's the one I was talking about. I fold a towel and sit on it. Yeah. So what can happen is, like I said, it can be a nerve in your bum if you're sitting on the towel, and it's not really about sitting on the towel. It's more that the towel helps you rotate your pelvic bone. If you have numbness under your legs or pain under the legs, it can be, first of all, it's kind of how we just tend to, when you do this, it just feels natural one way. this does not feel as natural as doing this for me. For other people, it will be the other way around. Really difficult if you have a girlfriend or boyfriend who doesn't match you, and you have, like, then you both are gonna have to be uncomfortable. Well, sometimes it just doesn't really work, and I have that with my fiance. We always like, we want to grab the other way around. So it's the same with your legs. Some people want to have the legs like this, other people like that. Feel what feels best for you. That's the first thing. Second thing is how much you're actually twisting your legs, because depending on how flexible you are, your legs might be quite far up. Well, hopefully not that far up, but and if you're Indian, then very likely you are. Generally, people in India are Asian India are much better at sitting cross-legged than we are in the West, because we're not trained to do that. So then how you sit depends on like how far down it goes, and then you can put something underneath. So you can put a cushion, a pillow, or something to support it. You can also try putting, like, not just here, but actually like further down, so you have support all the way down, and you can try moving it in and out from your body. That will also change the dynamics of where the pressure is coming. It could be that something underneath you, if you're sitting on a bamboo carpet that can be really hard, that can also numb some of your nerves. So sitting on, at home I have like a meditation cushion that's like, it's not very thick. What could it be? 3 centimeters or something, 3 centimeters. It's a very comfortable cushion to sit on, because did I say comfortable cushion to shit on? I mean comfortable cushion to sit on. It's just thick enough that it makes it so that I don't get pain in my bum. I feel the way I'm sitting now, I'm sitting on some kind of sheep skin and a blanket, and I can feel that my legs are getting numb. I'm getting pain in my legs. So you need to have something soft, but not as soft as a sofa or a bed, because they're going to be too soft, and then you get other problems. So I hope you can re-listen to the recording and just try those things and see if it helps. But there also is the chance that you're just going to have to deal with it, especially in the beginning. I don't know how long you have meditated, but when we start out, there can be more numbness and more pain. As you get more used to it, it'll get easier. But like I said, if you're from India, very likely you have more experience sitting cross-legged than most people in the West have. I'm just generalizing now. It doesn't have to be that way, of course. Did that help, Niranjan? I hope that gave you some thought. If there's anything else, or if you have just tried all of those things, then tell me and we'll see what else we can come up with. See, Jack, when I was trying to get a hold on the teachings of the East, I came across with the idea of some major temples of India to bring all the ashes of the Buddha. Have you heard something new? It was years ago. No, and I'm not at all interested in that. You're asking absolutely the wrong person, because for me that's like, we can never know. I know one temple in Sri Lanka, like I said, my teacher, or my Lokohandru, he managed to get a tooth of the Buddha to the shrine, and I was kind of like, well, how do we know that's his tooth? Like, someone could have just, there's even a story in a book I read about how just by pretending someone had the tooth, was it the tooth or a bone of some holy man, the whole village became so happy. And I'm kind of like, well, we don't know that stuff. It obviously could be. I'm not saying everyone's lying. I'm just saying that we simply have no way of verifying it. And even if it did, I don't believe in magic. So if you had the tooth of the Buddha or the finger of the Buddha, it's like, that's not going to influence you. Just meditate instead. All the time people spend on doing these things, if they would have spent that time on actually going inside, being aware of what's happening inside and seeing how they react to other people and just practicing Buddhism, they would be much better off. But those are not the fancy, flashy things, and not fun things, because they're not worldly. So then people tend to focus on these kind of things. So I consider those kind of things are just, I mean, I did before I was ordained, and a little bit after, I guess, also. I did travel to centers like that, in places where they had relics, and there's something nice about going to a spiritual place, but once you really get established in your practice, there's very little difference on where you are. I don't feel much I don't feel different sitting here compared to sitting in my home, compared to sitting in a temple. But that's because I don't have so much distortion towards things around me, so I pretty much always feel a sense of calmness and centeredness. It doesn't really matter where I am. I do ever feel that when I sit with other people, usually it does make it easier for me to become more centered. I don't need to have it. It doesn't have to be that way. So I recommend people focus less on those things and more on yourself. Practice. Do your practice. Be aware. Like, try to observe when you're feeling like, oh, I want to do this, and then see, okay, do I need to do that? Just observe all these distortions you have inside of you. Much better use of your time. Niranjan, did that answer your question about the sitting, or did you want more on that? I can't even remember what I said now, but I hope there was something there that you could work with. And like I said, Jack, there are people who are really into this stuff. And again, I don't know, maybe if you go there and you feel something, then, I mean, that's amazing. I'm just saying I don't feel much of those things. Are mantras help or obstacles in breath meditation? What do you think? There is Om, but it still involves the mind. So it doesn't necessarily have to involve much of the mind. Mantras, the nice thing about them, so when we're doing breathing meditation, it's just one form of what is often referred to as concentration meditation. So we focus on an object of meditation. Let me just see. My battery is almost running out, just so you know, so I only have a little bit more time. So when you focus on your breath, we're using an object that we always have with us that's easy to use and that has little like attachment to any religion or anything. It's just your breath. Everyone has it. So it's a very neutral and non-secular thing to meditate on. And we use that as our awareness, something to focus on, kind of. When you're using a mantra, the advantage of that is that when you say Om, there's like all this vibration inside of you, and that gives a stronger sensation to be aware of compared to your breath, because it vibrates much more, and that makes it easier for many people to focus on. But it also is something that is difficult to do for 10 hours per day. You get hoarse, or your voice is going to fall away. So it's something that I consider to be, if you want to implement mantras, I would do, and I have done this. I don't do it anymore. We can do that one time, actually, not now, but some other time. I had some breathing thing, like a mixture of breath work, I guess you could call it, that I used to do before I meditated in the beginning of my meditation, because it really raises the feeling inside of me, and then it was easier to follow my breath. So mantras can be really good to do in the beginning, but I guess it depends on what people see as meditation. If you're just going to sit 20-30 minutes, sure, you could probably do mantras for 20-30 minutes, but for me, when I say people meditate a lot, then it's like hours per day, or like several hours per day. So mantras has its usage, and it's just another object to be aware of. If it works, that's fine, but they're good for becoming focused. They're not really helping you observe what's happening inside of you, because they just push everything else away. If you focus on your breath, it's easier to have a few thoughts come in and few distortions come in that you can actually look at, because we're not really looking for the breath. What we're looking for is how the breath relates to the world outside of us, how we're affected by our thoughts, by our sensations. That's the whole idea, that the breath is kind of just what happens to be there. So I think the breath has more advantages than mantras, but mantras are stronger in really bringing you calmness and becoming here and now. So I would recommend, and that's what I've done when I've used it. I've used it in the beginning for a few minutes, or just a minute or two, and then you go into observing your breath. It's my opinion. There are some people that probably are, just because I say this. I'm sure there are people who meditate with mantras all day long and have great success. I mean, then that's awesome. Lizzie Naranjan, yes, it did help. I'll try to alter leg positions and see. By the way, I'm a beginner in meditation. Absolutely fine, and that's good when you start out. Just try it. Don't be afraid to try different things, and don't feel like you need to experience something in particular. Whatever happens, and you always are free to ask questions here in these Mondays and Thursday sessions where I sit, and then you can ask whatever you have if you have any questions that come up. And in the beginning it can be a bit difficult, because there's so much stuff that people start thinking about and worrying about, or am I doing it wrong? Am I doing it right? Or what should I experience? And I'm not seeing any lights. I heard someone see lights. Can I see lights? Or I want to feel this, or I want to get somewhere. So it's a journey, and that's perfectly fine. Just give it time. Don't feel like it needs to happen overnight, and just keep on practicing it, and you'll be fine. And ask questions when you need them. Jack, I began with yoga because I thought Siddhartha was way too scientific and complicated. 17 years later, here I am. Nice. Yeah, Buddhism is really Sometimes, especially Theravada Buddhism, it's like a flow chart. It's like you do this, then you get results A or B, and then if you do this one, you get this here or this there, and then there. And if you do that, you have to start over and go from big. It's very, very linear in its thinking many times, and I think that's why some people don't like Theravada Buddhism and tend to lean more towards Mahayana Buddhism, which is a bit softer and more about emotions and loving kindness and helping the world, kind of. Nice. I am going to have to stop there because the battery is almost out. Thank you everyone for coming today, and today was Monday, so, oh yes, I forgot, this Thursday, we are not actually going to have a sitting. It's the first time, I think. No, I missed one more time before when I had the vomiting flu, but I am going to have to miss this Thursday. So unfortunately there's no meditation this Thursday, and instead we'll have another sitting on Monday next week. See, thank you for doing this session. Thank you, Catherine. Very nice to have you here. And Jack and Niranjan and the other people I can see also are online. It's always nice to come and sit with people, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again next Monday. Thank you.